A push to permanently change the way we vote. Two House bills support early voting and no excuse absentee ballots, and both sides were heard during a public hearing. Channel 3 Chief Capitol reporter Susan Raff is joining us live at the state capitol in Hartford. Susan.
Erin, as you know, back in November, for the very first time, Connecticut voters had a different experience. They were able to vote early and use absentee ballots for whatever reason they wanted to. It turns out a lot of people liked it and want it to continue.
November's election was unusual. Connecticut voters didn't have to go to the polls to vote. Instead, they were able to drop off absentee ballots in these boxes all over the state.
43 states currently allow their voters to vote in person prior to Election Day and/or vote by absentee ballot without an excuse.
The Secretary of the State and a number of groups are pushing for Connecticut to join most states. A poll by Secure Democracy shows 79% of voters support early voting. 73% of voters support no excuse absentee ballots. The largest support is among those 65 and up and those 18 to 34. But to do this, there needs to be a change in the state constitution.
The thing about the Constitution is that it requires a significant effort to make a change. We've got to have a 3/4 majority, or we've got to have 2 consecutive legislatures agree.
However, the legislature would not have the final say. That would be up to voters. Republicans also feel early voting could make some worry about fraud. This voter doesn't agree.
I don't think it's that rampant. I really don't. I haven't seen any news reports or anything that indicated that it is rampant.
And despite a record number of Connecticut voters using absentee ballots during the past election, the Secretary of the State says we saw very few irregularities.
I just think it's easier for a lot of people. You know, people are very transient today. They're busy. They work out of state sometimes, a lot of them.
And obviously, lawmakers passed that temporary legislation because we are in a pandemic. Going forward, again, it would have to be voters who would have the final say. But first, it must get voted on here in the General Assembly. If they got a supermajority, it could be on the ballot in 2022. But if they only got a majority, we wouldn't probably see it before voters until 2 years later in 2024. We are live at the state capitol in Hartford. Susan Raff, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
Okay, we'll see what happens with that. Susan, thank you very much.